This has been a video I've been wanting to do for quite a while. Now, Kandy always fascinated me with regard to its beauty, the culture, right? The typical things which the Kandy is famous for. But then there's something more to Kandy than the typical historic or the cultural beauty of it. What about the bridges? I can't think of any other place in Sri Lanka which has this many variety of bridges in and around Kandy for that matter. If you take a look around Kandyan valleys, there are about dozens of bridges that are of amazing value and quality in terms of architecture, the bridge engineering definitely, and of course the beauty and the value of it. Take a look at the gateway to Kandy, the bridge at the Peradeniya, which was made in 1905 for that matter. Now, how many years old is that? Nearly 120 years old. The bridge is unique in its aspects. It's a steel arch bridge, something 22 meters in length and 3 steel spans it has. So the bridge, the shape of it is this, and it's very high, mind you. It's about nearly 100 feet in the height. The bridge actually is a replacement of a historic bridge which was made in 1833. Even today we do see the main basis of the bridge still being used for the modern bridge. This is completely made out of satin wood with a span of 62 meters, they say, with a width of 6.7 meters. So it was a very wide bridge for that era, completely made out of timber or satin wood, called Buruta in Sinhala. And they say it took 6 years to complete without the use of a single nail. So the history goes. Of course, there's a sadder part to the bridge. They say they use prisoners to make the bridge. Much of the power or the human aspect of work was involved in prisoners, they say, in the making of the bridge. But in any way, right, the bridge in this kind of a shape, a unique one of its kind. British never made a bridge like this again. And here's a replacement about it. So this is the main gateway point to Kandy for centuries, and British finally bridged it by the satinwood bridge, and later in 1905 with this steel construction, which is a fantastic creation, mind you. Even the current bridge, this is the underneath of the bridge. Picture quality may not be that good. Some of these pictures are from mine, but other pictures, of course, I had to take from online. Taking a look at bridge culture of Sri Lanka, the bridge aspects of Sri Lanka. The Mawanella bridge here, the Katugastota old bridge here. This is actually a bridge at Paalama Three. Yeah, the British. Let us talk about the architectural aspect of the bridges. First, arch bridges have been very common feature in Sri Lankan bridges, or rather had been a very common feature in the Sri Lankan bridges in the British era. They use brick and cement sometimes for these arch bridges, which is a very, very old bridge making tradition going back to 4,000 years. So the British utilized this system primarily for the road construction and sometimes even for the railway bridge constructions. Iron bridges, they're not actually the steel bridges, we call them the iron bridges, have been plenty, right, during the British era. Again, a lot for the bridges on the road and plenty for the bridges on the railway. These use the lattice bridges like this, and yes, Pratt bridges where these kind of members are used. And normally these truss bridges, sometimes the Warren truss bridges are used. So they were primarily lattice bridges, Warren truss bridges, and then Pratt bridges. And you do see in Pilimatala a unique bridge called the Carnal back bridges. One bridge which is not exactly utilized you could call it the Parker style also. We'll see the picture later. And in Navalapitiya you do see this bowstring bridge, only one of its kind. People call it the Mode Paalama, which is not the case. Inverted bowstring bridge. So moving on, right, into the other bridges. Yes, let's take at the bridges that bridged Maha Valley, made out of cast iron. We did not use steel at the time. We did not have steel by that time. We're talking about the 1860s. Nearly a century and a half ago. Steel was not invented by then. We had only iron, cast iron and the wrought iron, they used to call it. Take a look at these three bridges. One, let me take a look at the Salem Bridge, or the Salem Bridge they call it. The name came from the sorghum plantations nearby. This is one that goes across Maha Valley at Navalapitiya. One unique thing about it is the bridge basically bridges both ends without any pillar in the middle. This is only one bridge of its kind in Sri Lanka, about 100 feet in length, about 2 carriages length, like a single structure without a support at the bottom. So this is sort of a Pratt bridge structure that we've seen earlier. The stories say that during the floods this bridge was damaged in the 1940s and even before that. Some of the Maha Valley bridges got the impact of the floods. So what you see today are not exactly the original version. They have been repaired. This is the Yaka Paalama, or the Devil's Bridge, 320 feet long. Again, set very high above Maha Valley River. Probably the original bridge may have been set at a lower level. The original bridge, I think I was able to take a photo of. Let me kind of go there and come back again. The original bridge of over Maha Valley was this type. This is actually the Katugastota bridge, about the type of this nature. The modern bridge that we see today have been a repaired version of a bridge about 100 years ago. Yaka Paalama, definitely for the looks of it, not the dangers it portended. It's an iconic feature of anyone visiting Kandy, right? This particular Peradeniya bridge, if you particularly come through the railway. And this is one of the cross Kalani. They made a long bridge. The British, I think that this is the second longest bridge the British made along the way to Kandy. Originally made in 1664, and then repaired due to the floods. This is the Katugastota bridge, a unique one, very old one, made in 1860. The road bridge was made in 1860. There was a Katugastota road bridge. We discuss it later. And this is actually the railway bridge, supporting the railway line to Matale. Again, a very wide bridge, as well as in length as well, across Polgola Reservoir by now, but early days across Maha Valley River. Again, they use this the truss bridge style, the box shaped one. So these three bridges, all of them 100 years or more. There's no historical record about Katugastota bridge having to be kind of repaired, but my guess is that when the Polgola Reservoir came up, there were some adjustments made to the bridge. I'm not so sure about it, but Salem and the Devil's Bridge had suffered some flood damage, the story says. So what we see today are bridges that have been repaired. And then what about the bridges over the waters? First, take a look at this bridge at Ulapane. It was made in 1903. This picture is from online. Credit to the owner of the photo. It's an abandoned bridge at the moment. Sadly, the vehicles are not used to go along this. There are two other bridges right nearby this Ulapane bridge. It had a 52 meter span and with a width of 3 meters, primarily used for bus transportation as well as other roads transportation. Sadly, the bridge stays abandoned today. So this is kind of an inverted bowstring bridge, they call it. The bowstring one is inverted in. This is a bridge engineering tactic, but the popular folklore says that it was, the particular foreigner or the people involved in it made a mistake. Like, so the popular name for this bridge is actually the Moda Paalama, or the Fool's Bridge. It's not an act of foolishness. British know their homework on bridge making. This is simply a case of using a bowstring, a unique style of bridge making. You could put it over or invert it to spread out the pressure or the tension on the bridge. Moving on, if we take other look at, this is the old Katugastota bridge where you will see this in fact is a Katugastota, the road bridge, not the steel bridge on the railway. This was made in 1860, and the stories say that the Governor Barnes, in order to open the bridge, had a party on top of the bridge. It seems one of the widest bridges at that time, and had a dance also organized by him, it seems. So this is how the bridge looks today. Again abandoned, not utilized, because there's a new road that has come close by. Kind of getting into dilapidated state. We need to repair these bridges and keep them up for posterity, because this is part of Sri Lankan architecture. It may be the British engineers who made them, but remember, it's the Sri Lankans who may have done the work along with others like from India and all, right? So there were lots of Indians utilized to make the bridges, but larger numbers of Sri Lankan labor was also utilized. This is the Gampola Bridge, the typical Pratt bridge structure, again not in the use today because of the main bridge that has been created recently. One bridge at Valleygull, a smaller bridge of a Pratt style, truss bridges. So this is the Katugastota railway bridge. Earlier the photo we saw, and this is the British brush Bracknell train moving across this particular bridge. The photo is not mine, actually I got the photo from online. Credit to the owner on it. So these are unique kind of structures, right? There's a fun, interesting bridge at Pilimatalawa. This is a unique style. The bridge cannot be taken a photo of because you have to get to the middle of the road to get the photo. Maybe in the night time it would be possible. Like, the bridge is very, very unique in structure, the likes of which is rarely seen, almost never seen in Sri Lanka. People utilize it for moving up and down, but bridges like this sadly stay abandoned, except for some movie maker coming in to take a movie out of it, like. And then the next step is arch bridges. This one at Mawanella, still used heavily. It's part of the main thoroughfare, Kandy Colombo Road. The Mavanella Bridge was made in 1832, 190 years old, 91 years old. It's made out of brick. Look at the arch shape of the bridge. Still sturdy, still strong, right? Can take the full load of traffic. Has not been repaired or anything, and still strong, staying strong the way it used to be. You have to give respect to the British engineers who made bridges to last centuries. They made clear anticipation of the possibility of the traffic increase and all. I don't think they had any idea about the motor traffic of it, but the road that was done then, or the bridge that was done then, is good enough for the traffic today. So this takes the entirety of the traffic in Mawanella. So coming towards Colombo, the bridge has 4 spans, each one 15 meters in length of it. Width is sufficient across Ma Oya. Then a bridge that is no longer with us, we call it the Dekinda Bridge, or rather the 5 Arches Bridge. The bridge is no more, It's about 40, technically it's about 300 feet in length with 5 arches, each one with about 40 feet in width, about 70 feet in height. The bridge sadly collapsed soon after it was bridged. It was created, made out of dressed stone. Stone imported from India. The arch bridge is like the 9 arches, right? And the second one would be this. When it comes to the length, sadly the bridge is no longer there. Only one single arch is visible, over which the train still goes near Ihalakote station. This is near Ihalakote station. The rest of it, once the bridge collapsed, British filled up with an embankment. Only one part of the, maybe this arch is left. The rest is now covered with soil. Tiny bridge at Pilimatalawa, near the road museum, highways museum. Arch bridge completely made out of brick, actually. A single arch, but again an architectural importance because the modern railroading, right? Modern loads. This one can still hold, though it is made in 1860s. And then there's one at Pilimatalawa, another one, triple arch, connected to the old Kandy road. Now the road is still used with limited traffic, but not the main traffic. Kandy Colombo. Those days, Kandy Colombo traffic was this way, but then a bridge was created nearby. So with it, the level of the traffic is less on that. One key arch bridge. This is the Gurudeniya bridge. We call it the Kershaw bridge. Kershaw bridge was one of Sri Lanka's oldest arch bridges, made out of brick. This actually rivals that of the Mawanella bridge. This was in 1842. The bridge was made at Gurudeniya. That was a main road via the traffic was, would go to Mahayangana and other places from Kandy. The bridge was in use for many years until a steel bridge was made across Nattarampota, near Mahavali, across Mahavali near Nattarampota. The bridge is still in very strong condition. The unique feature of the bridge is the bridge actually uses a natural rock formation in the middle of it. So bridge is in two parts actually. First part and the second part. Again, one of a kind, sadly not being repaired well. This is an architectural wonder, and we should consider these bridges as part of the national heritage. We don't have to forget the bridges to punish the British colonials, but remember, Sri Lankans would have been involved in the making of them, design of them, building of them. So the valuation of that quality, that ingenuity should be treasured by us. These bridges should be, kept for posterity, and it would be a great tourist attraction as well, because, in other nations like the architecture plays a key part in tourism, and the architecture in bridge engineering in Kandyan regions, right, should be taken into consideration. Now this one, they call the dark arches. The bridge is still there, not used today. And yes, where is it? It's deep in the jungles of Kaduganawa. The bridge is perfectly intact. Bridges like this are made to hold up to 3 tons of weight per square feet. That was the strength of the bridges when they made them. Made out of dressed stone. Much of these stones were quarried from Sri Lanka later, but originally brought from India. That's what they say. The dark arches. That was the name British gave to this bridge. This is an old photo when the train was using the bridge, but later the track was kind of changed and the bridge got into the jungle. There's a tunnel where the track was supposed to go today. And this one is one of those most fascinating of bridges, because just fascinating feats of engineering. You go here, Galboda, right? Again, credit to the photographers, not mine, these photos, full credit to them. You could see a combination of waterfall, the tunnels, the bridges, all in a span of something like 400 feet. 2 tunnels, 2 bridges, and a fantastic waterfall. a unique, feature along the roll up, the ride up to Badulla. Many people miss this because it just comes in a flash and passes in a flash. So next time when you go up Galboda, go up Badulla line, keep your heads out after Navalapitiya, closing on Inguru Oya station, and moment you pass Inguru Oya station, you may see this absolute wonder. It's a very tall, very high bridge over a massive gorge. There's a huge waterfall on the sides. This is actually a bridge made with big parts out of steel, because the water spray was so high it was not good for iron. So later, the railway engineers repaired much of the bridge components in steel. This is probably the only bridge of that nature which has lots of steel being incorporated due to the water spray from the waterfall, causing the corrosion in the bridge. And yes, let's move on. It's not over yet, right? Come to Peradeniya. Peradeniya Valley, another mini valley, right? It's a bridge engineer's dream, mind you. Let's start with what you've seen earlier. Our main gateway to Kandy. The photo credit, not mine. You can see the original, the basis of the old Statin bridge. We still use it. Later we replace it with steel bridge. 1905. These are made of steel from the early days. So this is how the bottom of it looks. Very, very strong. And yes, over 120 years old. More than 120 years old. The bridge. And then yes, multiple bridges exist in Peradeniya. Let me try with this one. The arch bridge, a unique concrete arch bridge inside the Peradeniya University. We call it the Akbar bridge. This is a pedestrian bridge. Okay, the students use for motorbiking and all, but it's a pedestrian bridge primarily. It's an arch bridge at the bottom and arch on the top as well. A beautiful bridge made during the during the early days of the Peradeniya University construction, to facilitate the movement of engineering faculty students towards the other side of the river and vice versa. Locals also use this particular bridge, right? People get down from Peradeniya, Gampola Road, and cross the university, go to the Galaha side. And this is how the bridge looks on top. A very romantically set bridge. Then there's another one called the Gajasinghe Paalama, the Gajasinghe Bridge. This is along the Galaha Road, constructed during the university days by the British University, by the Peradeniya University construction period. It's connected to the Peradeniya University architecture itself. How the Gajasinghe Paalama looked in the past, you may take a look here. This is how it looks in the early days. Gajasinghe is used because there's ornamentation added to the either ends of the bridge. So this is the university residences. The bridge was part of the university architecture. There's debate during that time. And the Gajasinghe again is a bridge of 3 arches made out of dressed stones. It supports the traffic to Galaha, public transport traffic as well. And then there's inside the Galpalama, inside the road to Peradeniya, inside the jungles. Above university you have this unique bridge, Galpalama. It's near actually the Galbangala also. Next time when you go, you could take a look. And of course, Yakapalama. So all this is part and parcel of the Peradeniya little valley. It's not over yet. This is another side view of the Gajasinghe Paalama. And there's this pretty interesting bridge over the railway. When the bus turns towards, when the road goes, passing the medical faculty towards the Galaha side, you have this one made. And yes, inside the Peradeniya gardens, you have this suspension bridge. Suspension bridges have been quite a number. There is one at Hallolu, there is another one at Leval. Both are intact and both are in strong conditions, but there are bridges created nearby, so the people utilizing the suspension bridges are kind of less than it used to be, but this is pretty much in the usage by anyone who goes to Peradeniya Park would not miss the chance to try luck at this particular fantastic suspension bridge. There were three equally similar size of bridges, similar size, similar length also. Actually the Mawanella bridge is rather long, and another one at Hallolu a little bit downstream. Okay, so that's about the Peradeniya bridge aspect. Now these are the earlier bridges of early photos. So this is the Mawanella bridge, early days photo taken. 4 spans, 50 feet each, right? And this is the Katugastota bridge. I've taken some historic photos from online. 3 spans of 124 feet each, right? This was a road bridge, but later would have been repaired. This was an early photo taken. And then the Pilimatala bridge I told you of, which is in a dilapidated state, sadly. And roads are the traffic is being utilized, but the repairs of these bridges need to be part and parcel of our efforts. Kandy is not just temple and the lake and the culture around it. In the Kandyan, legacy, you have this bridge engineering, which is a key part, because Kandy was one of the hardest of citadels to break by the colonial powers, be it the British or before that the Dutch or the Portuguese before that. Mahavali protected Kandy heavily. So one of the first things that British did when they had control of Kandy was to bridge Mahavali. Initially for defense, but later for transportation, agriculture, right? The Kandyan Valley supported all of it. This is actually the Hallolu bridge, right? Now supported by a larger bridge nearby. So it's our duty in a way to ensure that these century plus old bridges are preserved for the future, because it's part of our heritage. It may be the British who made them, but remember, the people who really made them would have been normal people like us, Sri Lankans. And a lot of the Indians who came to build these things never went back. They settled in Sri Lanka. So yes, bridges made by Sri Lankans. Let's protect and preserve them.